everyone. My name is Owen Megaminawa and welcome to HYVAssistant.com. Today on the show I have Mark Satterfield from GentleRainMarketing.com specifically to talk to us about how exactly we can automate our lead generation. I mean, because this is something that all businesses need. You need to continuously have leads coming to your business so that you can eventually turn some of them into clients and so forth. So go ahead, Mark, introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, hi, Owen. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, lead generation. What a huge topic. I can't think of an entrepreneur or business owner that I've worked with over the last 18 years who hasn't been focusing on that. So hopefully I can share with your audience some ideas that will be helpful to them.
Definitely. So getting started, I'm trying to figure out, when you say automating lead generation, how has it been done before, and how, based on what your expertise is, how is this new way of generating leads? I want to first of all give the audience the context of the wrong way of doing it, and then we're going to how it's supposed to be done, I guess.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm not sure it's a matter of right or wrong. I suppose it's more a matter of efficient versus non-efficient. Probably one of the most least effective or least efficient ways of generating leads is to pick up the phone and start cold calling. And yeah, I'm sure we've all had experiences doing that. And
why is that though? Because I mean, I've heard people say everybody's scared to get on the phone, so there is this avenue that is left untapped, and go ahead and pick up the phone. But you're saying why is that? Why is it the least way to go?
Well, the problem winds up being is that if you just pick up the phone and start calling cold, how do you know if the person has the least bit of interest in what you have to offer? And unfortunately, the odds are that they don't. So you wind up talking to a lot of people who really don't have any interest in what you have to say, and it's a pretty uncomfortable kind of call because you're desperately trying to stay on the phone with the person, hoping that they won't hang up, and the person on the other end is desperately trying to get off the phone. So it's not exactly the environment that is going to be conducive to building a business relationship. So what my philosophy has always been is that rather than trying to get cold prospects to not hang up on us, focus on getting people to raise their hand, express an initial interest in who we are and the kinds of services that we offer, or the kinds of products that we offer. Let's get them to raise their hand and express that little bit of interest. And then once they do that, now they're no longer a cold market, they are a warm market. And it's a lot easier for me to have a discussion with someone who's expressed an initial interest than it is to try to talk to somebody who I have no earthly idea if they're interested in talking to me. So the gentle rain strategy, I guess if we summarize it, is really all about two things. One, and I'll tell you, this isn't very complicated, and anybody can do it, and everybody should do it, but there's really two steps to it. The first step is offer people something for free that relates to the kinds of products or services you offer. And it could be a free report, could be a video, could be a piece of software, could be some photos. I mean, could be most anything. But offer them something for free, for which they have to opt in and tell us who they are, and then that enables us to send them ongoing messages of relevance and interest, which build trust, build credibility, and eventually convert these prospects into paying clients. So it's hard to argue against a marketing program that, fundamentally says give people something for free and then stay in touch with them. I mean, that seems pretty simple. So the question, I guess, then becomes, okay, well, Mark, if it's, so simple, why doesn't everybody do it? Why isn't everybody successful? And I think the answer is twofold. One, people sometimes just, they don't think anything this simple could actually work, and in fact it does. So they try to complicate their life, and but more importantly, what tends to trip up people is not the process or system, which is, as you can tell, pretty simple, but what it is that they're communicating. It's one thing to say, okay, offer something for free. The next question becomes, okay, exactly what is it that you're offering? And it's really focusing on creating those unique sales stories that you and only you can tell, that get people interested, that get people curious about who you are and the kinds of benefits that you provide. And if you can figure out what those stories are, and if you can incorporate those into what you are offering for free and the website that you're putting it on, then you've really got a system that is going to get you as many new people as you can possibly handle.
But definitely, I mean, we see a lot of people who basically creating like free reports and all that, and so I guess people, by nature of the fact that a lot of people do that all the time, are already used to getting something free. So how does one now really turn that free, whatever you're going to send out to encourage them to join your list or whatever in the first place, make it something that they see valuable or something that's going to be different from what is out there or your competition, so that they won't take the time to sign up in the first place?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and you've really hit the nail on the head. I mean, the concept that I'm talking to you about is certainly not new. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I remember when I was a little kid, I used to like to read comic books, and in the back of the comic books were these advertisements for the Charles Atlas muscle building system, and very famous advertisements with the cartoon of the kid that was on the beach, the skinny kid. He gets the sand kicked in his face, and the bully runs away with his girlfriend, and he vows that he's never going to have that happen to him again. So he, signs up for the Charles Atlas muscle building program, becomes a muscular dude in the space of one or two cartoon panels, and then he punches the bully in the mouth and takes back the girl. Incredibly politically correct, but
I have a choice.
Right, but I remember being a 10-year-old kid, growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, and being the skinny kid, and reading this ad and seeing, and there was a coupon at the bottom, and you cut out the coupon, and you could check these boxes about whether you wanted bulging biceps or abdominals of steel. And I remember, thinking, oh my goodness, can I have both? And checking off the boxes, sending in the coupon, and 2 weeks later, I got a free report, and the free report was The Secret of Dynatension, and it basically said, hey kid, do some push-ups and do some sit-ups. And then a couple days later, there were, another letter that came saying, if you really want to accelerate this, you ought to sign up for the Charles Atlas program, and, later another one came, and so forth and so on. And as far as I know, the letters may still be coming to my parents' house back in Boston. But the point I'm making is, to your question, the success of all this really revolves on two things. One, having a free report that isn't being done to death. So what that means is that you need to target a niche, a very, very specific niche. And you need to create a report that really speaks to them. So, some people say to me this, I'll ask them, I'll say, well, what niche do you focus on? And they'll say, well, I focus on small business. Well, that's not really a niche. That's a little bit like saying, let's go. Yeah, it's very broad, and it's a little bit like saying, let's go eat American food. It's just too big, and so you need to subdivide. You need to subdivide it to retailers or manufacturers or chiropractors or dentists or attorneys or some group that you can speak very, very specifically to. And that's point number one, because you really want to set this whole thing up so that your report is speaking to a very specific audience. So it's not attention small business owners, it's attention men's clothing retailers, attention chiropractors, attention dentists, attention accountants, important information you need to read in order to do something. And so the report needs to be very specific, and it needs to be something that isn't being done by everybody else. But and that's how you get the attention. But then, to your answer or your question specifically, okay, well, how do we actually then get them to invest? And that is by the ongoing messaging. What takes place after they get the free report? And what most often happens is people will get a free report. They'll offer people a free report. They'll make a couple of attempts to get somebody to come in for a consultation or talk to them on the phone. And if the prospect doesn't respond, that's it. That's the end of it. They never do anything with them. And it's been my belief, and this has worked very well for me, and it's worked very well for my clients over the last 18 years, is that it's all about building relationships. And we want to build relationships first before we try to sell people stuff. And people are in a hurry, and I recognize that, and I understand that, and I'm the same way. I wish that I could just say, hey, here's my stuff, and people just buy it. But that's not the way the real world works. So once we get them to raise their hand for the free report, then it's that ongoing messaging. And it's that continuing to provide helpful information along with what we call seeding, which is then your small offers for your specific services or your specific products. And what we find is that if you give people value, if you give people helpful information, the reaction tends to be, hey, I wonder what else this person knows. I wonder how else this person could help me. I wonder how else this person could assist me in solving this problem that I'm trying to solve. And that's when they then get to the point where they're willing to take out their credit checkbook or cash and actually invest in you. But it's a matter of going slow.
Yeah, I'm curious though, because you said, first of all, get them to raise their hand and create a relationship with them. And based on the example you gave, you said how the company, they painted a story by using that comic book strip to show, and it was targeted to maybe skinny guys or people who were being bullied, I guess, to show them, okay, this is what you need to do to avoid that pain of being bullied, right? So that involves them telling a story. So in order to get, my sense from that was that you need to have a story. My goal is how to find out how exactly can we pinpoint that story when it comes to even getting them to sign up for the free report that you are offering them in the first place. How do we go about crafting that story? Sure.
Well, the shorthand answer in terms of crafting a story is to think about it from a modular standpoint, and I go into this in a lot more detail in my newest book, which is called Unique Sales Stories. But the format that is helpful for a lot of people is to, as you yourself said, is to first very much focus on a specific problem that affects a very specific group of people. Skinny 10-year-old boys. I mean, the Charles Atlas ad spoke to us very, very specifically. When you go to my gentlerainmarketing.com site, you see that it speaks very specifically to small business owners, the self-employed, solo consultants, a very, very specific niche of people. So you're really focusing on that problem. But the second step in creating a great story is that we have to convince our readers that this is a problem worth paying attention to, that this is a problem that that requires some sort of action. And that leads us to the next component in good storytelling, which are the consequences. And simply put, what happened? Why is this something that needs to be addressed? What are the consequences that will occur if the problem is not solved? The third step in a story are what we call options. And in options, when we make decisions in life, we don't generally just immediately focus on one solution and down that particular road we go. We look at a number of different things, including not doing anything at all. And so the next step in a good story discusses what the options are. What were the paths not taken? That then leads to the next step in a good story, which is the solution. What is your solution? How does your solution actually help people? How does it actually work? And then finally, what are the results? And that ties the story together. So in our Charles Atlas example, it's tied together with the skinny kid no longer skinny, beats up the bully, walks away with a girl, happy ending for all except for, of course, the bully. But those are the components, and if you think about your story in that context, and you think about it as going through those various components, and when you create your story bullet pointing those out first, you can create a very effective story which works well on your website, works well in sales letters, works well in free reports, works well in your follow-up messages. So lots of applicability.
Definitely. I liked how you broke down the points to, because a lot of people just say create a story, but they don't tell you how to, which points of the stories, how they follow each other. And I like how you broke it down for my audience. And back to the point where now you've gotten them into the list and they've gotten that free information that got them interested based on the story you created. And now you said previously that, you send them that free content, but every now and then you seed them, I guess, with the option of actually taking an action to buy something. My question now is really, how do you figure out what that ratio should be of free content versus buying something from you, which is what you eventually want them to do? And also, at that point of seeding it, how do you present it to them that it's also part of the story, but at the same time, it doesn't look like you're trying to be being a salesperson or something like that?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure exactly how helpful I'm going to be, because ultimately it gets down to judgment. I've been doing this for a long time. I started off in marketing with Pepsi and Kraft Foods, and started Gentle Rain Marketing 18 years ago. So a lot of what I do is really based on judgment. So for the benefit of someone who doesn't have me as their coach and trying to be helpful, what I would say is that remember that the relationship needs to be in place first, and that we tend to jump to communicating our solutions and the message of buy our stuff too quick in the process. And Lord knows, I want to have people buy stuff quickly. We all do, and it's but we have to rein ourselves in. So the real trick is in the first few messages to just really focus on building that trust, building that credibility. And it can be very simple. I mean, in effect, sending a follow-up message that asks for feedback is enormously powerful. Now, where do you seed it? Well, there's a couple ways you can seed it. Sometimes we can seed it actually in the email itself. You'll send out an email as a follow-up, And, the email may be, let's say 4 or 5 paragraphs in length. Well, in between paragraph number 2 and paragraph number 3, we have a short little advertisement for, a product or service or next step in the relationship building process. And so it functions as a mini advertisement. Oftentimes, of course, using your signature line as a tool for getting people to take the next step. You want to get on the fast track. These are programs that are specifically designed to help you accelerate the process, and then it gives them a link to your sales page. So, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Now, where the judgment really comes in is in determining how hard of a sell you want to put on people. And this depends a little bit upon your business. I'll give you an example. In some kinds of sales situations, quite frankly, if they don't buy in the first 30 days, they're probably not going to buy at all. So in that particular case, there's an argument to be made for starting off soft, but then progressing to a more harder and harder aggressive sale. I was in Las Vegas just killing some time back a few years ago, and I went into an art gallery, and there was a piece of art that caught my eye, and they take it off the wall, they put it in an attractive room, and someone sits down with you and talks to you about it. And it was an absolutely marvelous sales presentation because she did all the right stuff. She asked me about what room would I put it in, what was the color of the room, just asked all the great relationship building questions. But as I demurred and as I put it off, the sale became harder and harder and harder. And at the end of it, I didn't buy. But at the end of it, I said, I'm curious. The sale started off so soft, but then it got so terribly aggressive. Yeah. What was that? Just because you were, commissions are due today? I mean, what was there something going on, or was it by design? And she said, no, actually it's by design. And the reason being is that we know that if you leave this particular gallery, and it's a chain of galleries, I won't mention the name, but it's a chain of galleries. She said, we know that we've got an 85% chance that you will never come back here and buy that particular painting. So our whole sales strategy is to get increasingly aggressive in the short period of time that we know we have your attention. So, and that same philosophy would apply even if you were doing online follow-up. If you've got this small window of opportunity, and in your industry, that realistically if they don't make a determination in 30 days, they're not going to at all. Now, there's other fields. Myself, for example, I basically offer marketing, consulting, and advice. That's how I make a living. Now, in mine, there's an initial period of time when people will get one of my free reports that they're interested. We know they're interested in consulting, but they're interested in marketing. But we know that this is going to ebb and flow. They're going to be initially interested, but they may not do anything. Then they may be interested again 2-3 months down the road. They still may not do anything. They may be interested again 8 months down the road, still not do anything. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to have someone who's been on my mailing list for 2 years before they actually then invest. So I know that if I get too hard salesy with these people, I'm going to scare them off and I'm going to ruin it. So in that particular case, I'm very, 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 very soft sell throughout the entire process about my services. So again, it really, there's a lot of judgment that goes into it, and again, upon your market and the kinds of programs you offer.
So what I'm getting from that is how to determine when to seed that offer is really look at your industry and figure, okay, how long is it going to take since when you get that intention, that attention from them, how long is it going to take before basically they become cold and they might not even be interested anymore, and then use that as a means to figure out, okay, when you're going to, how intense you're going to get in regards to seeding them with the offer to buy this product or the services. And the question I have also now in regards to seeding too is, say let's say you've determined what that time would be for you to go from being soft sell to kind of getting aggressive gradually. When it comes to you actually seeding them, the sale itself, I've seen people do things where they apply kind of like a strategy of saying, oh, the product is not going to be available, or prices are going to basically restricting the access to make it look like it's going to not going to be available. What is your take on that? Because you've already created this relationship with the person now, and now you're trying to seed them to buy. Are we now going to do something like trying to tell them that they're not going to have access to the product to kind of create that buzz? I'm trying to get your point on that.
Sure, and the whole concept of scarcity. I mean, it is a motivating tool. Now, the key is you have to use it in an appropriate amount. You have to use some common sense. I mean, I remember one time somebody was offering an ebook, and they tried to tell me that they were going to sell out. And I'm thinking to myself, it's an ebook. Yeah, I mean, how do you run out? I mean,
it's an ebook.
I mean, so I mean, you got to use some common sense. So now the real key with scarcity is it works as long as you provide a reason why. Why is there scarcity? It's I mean, the scarcity of a classic one for people that are marketing educational programs is scratch and ding. We're giving a 30% reduction in price on my Gentle Rain boot camp in a box because that clumsy UPS guy knocked over the shipment of boxes, and I've got a few that have got these dings in them, and doesn't affect the recordings at all, but there's a slight scratch on the outside of the box. And so I want to give it to you for 30% off. I only got 15 of these, and it's first come, first serve. Okay, there's legitimate scarcity. I now understand the story behind it. And it can be very simple. As we're going to give 25% off to reward the first 15 people that enroll. I think one of the things that's always been known about people who are most successful is their decisiveness. And if you consider yourself, a successful entrepreneur, I want to reward that decisiveness by giving you this discount. I mean, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but again, it's the reason why. And because if you don't give the reason why, we're a skeptical world, and our feeling is, come on, you're just making that up.
Definitely.
Now you may be making it up. I mean, we did have one time a scratch and ding sale where, we ran out of the scratch and ding. So my assistant was actually there with a hammer, kind of, banging on the corner of perfectly good copies of boot camp, so we could send out stuff that looked slightly scuffed. And so.
And I like the way you answer that question, because I always hear marketers say you have to form, scarcity, but then, having you answer it and back it up by saying why, I think that gives more context to the whole reason of using scarcity. Besides using scarcity to sell the product when you're seeding it, right? You build relationships. Let's say you don't even want to use scarcity, but you're trying to seed. What other ways do you suggest that the audience also use when you're seeding this sale to the people you've built the relationships with?
Well, I mean, one of the easiest ways, or not the easiest, but one of the most effective ways of seeding is, and you can do this in any kind of, you can do this in any of a number of contexts. You can do it in speeches, you can do it in teleseminars, and you can do it in, events like what you and I are doing today, which is, look, I can spend literally hours talking about marketing. I love marketing. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping people grow their businesses. And what I want to do in the time that we have together is obviously share information that's going to be helpful to your listeners. Yeah. Now, Some of you may be interested in learning more, in which case then I hope you'll go to gentlerainmarketing.com and consider investing in some of our educational resources that will take you to the next step. So you see what I've done there is I've seeded. I've said, look, we got a short period of time together. I'm going to be as helpful as I possibly can during that time together. But for those of you who want additional information, I'm going to share with you where to go to get that. And so that's, you know, that's an example of that. And you tend to do that on a continual basis. I mean, I told you the outline for how to create a great, unique sales story. And, you know, that's a great outline using the, you know, problem, consequence, option, solution, results format. And if you want to learn more, if you wanted to see examples of this, then I'd encourage you to, you know, go to Amazon.com and pick up a copy of my book, Unique Sales Stories. Again, another example, albeit terribly self-serving, but
I think that's kind of like, you know, it's like you're saying, this is what you need to do, but how you need to do it, the detail of the process, you got to come to me for that. I guess you got to buy it. What is that what I'm getting from that?
Well, yeah, I mean, not exactly, but yeah, I mean, directionally, you're right. I mean, it's look, let me try to be helpful. Let me give you some good information, you know, because you're investing your time by listening and watching this, and I want to be respectful of that. But by the same token, if you are one of these people who wants to take that next step and learn more, you know, I want to share with you how you can go about doing that. And it's coming from, I mean, fundamentally, it's coming from a place of being of service, and it's coming from a place of wanting to help. And then, you know, recommending resources that will be beneficial to the people that, you know, do want more information. And if you come from that place, then the seeding works very well. If you come from the place of, I just want to sell you stuff, then it doesn't work that well, because you're just, you know, you're giving, the helpful information that you're giving isn't terribly helpful.
Yeah.
And people aren't really getting value. And so they say to themselves, well, you know, gee, what he was talking about is just a bunch of junk. I'll bet the stuff he sells is just a bunch of junk. You know, let's take a pass on that. So it's always give, you know, the old saying, you got to give to get. I mean, and you know, it's true.
I like that point, because it's kind of the thing around where they say, you know, you're trying to be a trusted resource by giving that information. But then one can run into a dilemma where it's like, how do you figure out what is the balance between giving the, you know, the good stuff so that you can be that trusted resource versus giving everything and then now you don't even have anything to sell?
Right. Yeah. And that again is a huge issue. And, you know, you can, I mean, and I think we've all sat in on teleconferences and some, you know, the preview calls, and we said, hey, you know, that was great. And I think I've got pretty much everything I need to know about that topic, and so you don't spend money for the additional stuff. Sure. I mean, you can go, it is a balance, and we can go overboard and give everybody everything, in which case then, you know, you give great free stuff, but, you know, you're fundamentally in business, so you need to, you know, you need to, you know, always be aware of that. I think it's easier for people who are involved in the implementation. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, you know, what you should be doing, yeah, but how you actually do it, yeah, that's the tricky part. And that's the reason why people invest in things like coaching, because you get someone who, you know, walks you through it and, you know, shows you exactly how to do it. I mean, nothing I've really shared with you guys tonight is new. I mean,
definitely.
You know, I mean, you know, it goes back to the Charles Atlas. I mean, it's all, you know, it's nothing new. But so what you ideally want to do is you want to get people excited. You want to get people to see the possibilities. You want to get people motivated to take the next step so that they're enthusiastic, but they're incomplete. And you also want to make sure that they realize that, there's still a pretty big gulf between where we are now and actually implementing all of what we're talking about. And that, there's additional resources that help that. But, it winds up being a judgment. You learn a lot through trial and error. But if I was going to err on one side, it's better to err on the side of giving people too much rather than too little. Because too little just kills you from a credibility standpoint.
And I like the way you said that, is the implementation part, that's where the product is. And it's kind of like, to me, I don't want my audience to think, oh, the implementation now, you being the person who's selling it, has to be the guy who's actually going to do the work. I'm also thinking that the implementation can also, which is the service of doing the work, there's also a product where you can actually show them, outline line by line, step by step, how the work gets done in detail, which could be sold as a product, I guess.
Absolutely. And that is, that is both products, which teach you step by step how to do something, as well as services such as coaching, which tell you how to do it, all the way up to then consulting, where they most oftentimes actually do it for you. So so there's lots of ways to structure your offer so that you're not cannibalizing yourself by doing the free things, and having the free things really work for you.
Definitely. And all the audience that have been here so far, they've been wondering, okay, we started out by telling them they can automate this whole process, and now I want to give the audience that have stayed this long the goods, the icing on the cake is, how do you automate this process?
It's not hard. Think of it as, all you really need is a one-page website which makes a free offer. One-page websites, to put them up, you can hire someone to do it. We charge, I think, $500 to do a one-page website. Now, the box that people sign up for to get the free offer, that box puts their contact information into what's called an autoresponder service. And autoresponder service is simply a computer database that enables you to send ongoing messages. And back when we started in 1992, these were terribly sophisticated new things, cost a fortune. Now they're a commodity and they cost next to nothing. The one we recommend is a program called GentleRainAutomation.com. Runs $29 a month, I believe, so it's not terribly expensive. And that enables you then to send out the ongoing messages. So, for the grand total of $500 for your website and $29 for the service that enables you to send out the ongoing messages, you've now got your system set up. So, not very expensive. Then the question is, okay, now how do you get people to go there? And you can spend a lot of money. You can spend money on Google AdWords. You can purchase leads. You can advertise offline in magazines and newspapers. But before you do any of that, you ought to go to social media. There's a lot of talk about social media, and then the question becomes, okay, well, we're Twittering, but how exactly does that help us in terms of getting new business? Well, here's the answer. What you're doing with your Twitter and your Facebook and your LinkedIn is you're driving people to that page. You're getting them to opt in. And once they opt in, now they're in your circle. Now they're a part of your fledgling relationship building process. And then it's just a matter of sending on those ongoing messages, which you can program in advance. I set up my wife's system and hers has got 2 years of automated messages loaded into the system. And once people go through the 2 years, she basically starts over from scratch because she's a, well, and I think she's correct that nobody really remembers day one anymore. So, but it works great. And, she gets, she's a clinical hypnotherapist, and she gets, people that, and she seeds in her messages to call for a free consultation. And when people go to MarionMassie.com, MASSIE, they go into that system, and they get the automated messages. And so whether she's busy, whether she's slow, whether she's working, whether she's playing golf, the system is working behind the scenes, constantly attracting new people, getting them to raise their hands, and then staying in touch with them and converting large percentages into actual paying clients. So that's how it works.
That's beautiful. You really put it, outlining the whole system. I'm also curious, because people are, receiving information and being bombarded by, many emails and, social media and various form of information coming to people. Even now people have apps that have information coming to them, not even text anymore now. It's app-driven information. So I'm trying to figure out what at that point would be that balance now that you've had them into your automated system. What do you suggest? Is this like an everyday email contact, or what do you think would be that best means of getting, seeding them with the free information as well as the seed to buy the product? What's the frequency that you suggest?
Yeah, that again, very good question. Here and again, no hard and fast rules. It's an area of judgment. So I'm going to give you my opinion. Yeah. And you can take it for what it's worth. But here's my opinion and the thinking behind it, which is that when people raise their hand and request your free piece of information, that's when they're most interested. So what I like to do is I like to send messages pretty frequently during the first few weeks after they have requested the free information. So they get the free information on immediately, so that's day 0. You send them an email the next day, with something like, did you get it, as the subject line. And it's just an email that says, hi, Mark Satterfield here, just wanted to make sure you successfully got my Gentle Rain marketing free report. If you ran into any problems, let me know. Day 2, hi, Mark Satterfield again, I'm going to be redoing the report sometime in the future, and naturally would love some feedback. What did you find to be helpful? Was there information that you wished was in it that wasn't? Just hit reply and share your thoughts. And that's a very powerful email, because what we're starting to do at that point is we're starting to get people to respond. And we're getting
I need to write that down, because I need to rehash my email list, because you just gave me some very good ideas. But go ahead, because a lot of people wonder why I do these interviews. I do so I can learn myself. So that's a good idea I have to steal. Go ahead.
Well, that's always a compliment when the host says, hey, I want to write that down.
Okay, go ahead.
So on day, let's see, we had day 0 where they're getting the free report. Day 1 is, did you get it? Day 2 or day 3 is, I'd love some feedback. Day number 5 is really your first offer, which is, so let's say you offer a free consultation. This would be an appropriate place to put the free consultation in. Then day 7 and day 10 are additional tips. All of us are in our chosen field. We just know a lot of really cool stuff. We know a lot of cool tips and suggestions. So we want to put those out in the next couple. Then the one after that, so would probably be another offer for maybe a free consultation, or if you've got an educational resource, you might want to offer it there. I guess what I'm saying is that for the first 2, maybe 3 weeks, I would recommend being in touch with them about every other day. And you do that, let's say, for 2 weeks. Then what I would do is I would back away and be in touch with them every 5 days. And I would do that for 2 weeks. And then what I would do is back away and be in touch with them every 20 days. And I do that for 2 weeks. And then if you want, you can back away and be in touch with them, for about every 30 days and do that forever. And that would be a relatively passive approach. Now, what I do is, I'm a little bit more aggressive in the sense that I've got about 30,000 subscribers, and I'm in touch with my subscribers at least once a week. When you sign up for the gentlerainmarketing.com free report, you're going to hear from me a lot, and especially in the beginning. And then, regardless, you're going to hear from me. You're going to hear from me once a week because I post to my blog once a week, and so I send updates to everybody who's on my list. But that's part my personality and part the fact that I'm a writer, and so this is very natural for me. My wife, who's a very good therapist, but although she's written 2 books, doesn't enjoy writing as much as I do. Her approach, which worked quite well, was to write all of the emails in kind of one sitting, and then schedule them out over an extended period of time. And both strategies work. So again, it's not a matter of you must do one thing or you're doomed. That's not true. But that's the approach that I take, and what is kind of as a big thumb suggestion what I would have others at least consider.
Definitely, because one of the things I was trying to do, I have also an email sequence, and the reality is I'm not really even selling them in the email sequence. So what I was thinking of doing is revamp the whole process, and I just needed to figure out, how I was going to do it, and just having you talk about how you do yours has given me a lot of ideas. And what I was trying to do with mine was all the emails I was sending to them, strip out the content of the text, and actually turn the text into videos, and send them the link to the videos, and implement this frequency you just suggested. That way, there's even more of a connection where it's not, they're not seeing reading text, they're seeing me talking to them.
Absolutely, no, great idea. And video is a great tool, and it's so easy now to put up videos on Vimeo or YouTube, and then just take the source code and post them on a blog page, and now you've got your video there, and that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought it up, because the more that we change up the medium, not always having it be written, but sometimes having it be video, sometimes even sending stuff old school in the mail. It breaks things up, and it really gets people's attention in different ways. So but the key is staying in touch naturally.
Definitely, I've really enjoyed this interview, and just before you go, anybody that has that intention to really go into this whole process of trying to automate their leads generation, what is that one thing that you want to leave with them to make them understand that this is the way to go?
Well, the one thing I want to share with everyone is that marketing doesn't need to be complicated. So many people get scared about it or stay away from it because they think it's going to be expensive. They think it's going to be complicated. They think it isn't going to work. The real key with marketing is to focus on a system, not activities. Your marketing is not your website. It's not Twitter. It's not social media. It's not letter writing or any activity. It's really thinking about a system. The system real simple. One-page website, $500 or less, which offers something for free. People have to opt in to get it, which enables you to send ongoing messages of relevance and interest to build that trust, build credibility, and eventually, of course, get people to do business with you. And if you think about it from a system standpoint, and the system really only having 2 parts to it, then there is absolutely no reason why everyone out there can't have a marketing system that's doing what it's supposed to do, generating lots of new people for you, and growing your business.
Thank you very much. You've been wonderful, Mark. How best can any of the members of the audience listening to this, how best can they get a hold of you?
Well, naturally, I'd love for them to get my own free piece of information, which is my Gentle Rain report. It elaborates in more detail about the system and some helpful thoughts. And it also tells you a little bit about my story, because I'll be the first to admit, the only reason I'm really good at this is because I've made just about every mistake that's possible, and. So if they'll go to gentlerainmarketing.com, they just download the free report, and then they'll be getting ongoing messages. They'll also get my updates to my blog, and of course periodically I'm going to try to sell them stuff. But
at least you're upfront with that. I mean, that's the thing.
It's done with the spirit of being of service, which is, of course, the way we all want to manage our business.
Thank you very much. And is there a way they can get a hold of you on social media, or Twitter and all that?
I'm on Twitter with Gentle Rain Man, and you can also reach me on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I'm pretty visible. I'm not hard to find, or you can, of course, Google Gentle Rain Marketing or Mark Satterfield, and it's not hard to find me.
Thank you very much for doing the interview.
Thank you very much, Owen. Much success for 2011 and beyond.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Done. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook, so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're going to do is look for the a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.